In a kingdom hidden between silver mountains and golden skies, there lived a princess whose beauty was said to outshine the stars. Yet behind her graceful smile was a sorrow no one could see. Each time a tear fell from her eyes, it transformed into a glittering diamond, cursing her with beauty born from pain. People called her blessed, but she knew she was bound by magic she never wished for. Her heart longed to be free, to cry without creating jewels. Before we dive deep into this story, subscribe to the channel so you never miss powerful and thought-provoking stories. Let's go in depth. Princess Elara was loved by every soul in the kingdom. Her laughter once filled the palace halls like music, and her kindness reached even the poorest cottages beyond the castle walls. She cared for the sick, fed the hungry, and spoke gently to everyone who crossed her path. But behind her warm smile was a deep sadness she kept hidden from the world. No one knew how heavy her heart had grown since the curse fell upon her as a child. Each diamond tear she shed brought her father, the king, great wealth, yet left her heart emptier with every sparkle. At night, when the world slept, she sat by her window and looked at the moon, the only friend who seemed to understand her pain. "If only my tears were simple," she whispered. "I would cry, just to feel alive again." But the moon only watched in silence, its light touching her cheeks like gentle comfort. Long before Princess Elara could even speak, a mysterious woman had visited the palace on a stormy night. She wore a cloak made of dark feathers, and her eyes glowed like dying embers. She came to bless the newborn princess, but when the king refused to offer her shelter, she left in anger. Before vanishing, she whispered a curse over the sleeping child, that every tear she would ever cry would turn into a diamond. The king thought it was nonsense until the day his daughter fell and scraped her knee. Her tears shimmered like sunlight and hardened into perfect diamonds on the floor. The king gasped, and from that day onward, the curse became both a miracle and a secret. As the years passed, the kingdom grew rich beyond imagination. Merchants came from far lands to trade for the princess's diamonds. Yet the curse deepened with every glittering gem. Elara learned to hold back her tears, for each one was a reminder of her pain. She longed for a single tear that could fall freely, one that would vanish into the earth like anyone else's sorrow. But the magic bound her heart, trapping her in a world where even her sadness was precious to others. As Princess Elara grew older, her father, King Alden, began to see her curse not as sorrow, but as a blessing sent from the heavens. His heart, once noble, turned cold with greed. The palace that once echoed with laughter became a place of silence and fear. Every time Elara wept, the king gathered her tears and locked them in crystal boxes, counting them as treasures. He told the people that the diamonds were gifts of divine fortune, never admitting that they came from his daughter's pain. When the kingdom's wealth began to fade, he forced Elara to cry again. He spoke cruel words, reminding her of her loneliness, her mother's death, anything that would bring tears to her eyes. Servants whispered about the poor princess, trapped in golden chambers where her sorrow filled the royal vaults. Elara felt like a bird in a cage made of jewels, shining on the outside but dying within. Each tear that touched the floor was another piece of her heart lost to greed. She prayed each night for someone to see her not as a treasure, but as a human longing for freedom. One quiet evening, when the sky was painted in shades of gold and violet, Princess Elara slipped out into the royal garden. The air smelled of jasmine, and the soft wind carried whispers of freedom. As she sat by the fountain, a small bird with shimmering blue feathers landed beside her. "Why do you cry alone, princess?" it asked in a gentle voice. Elara gasped, for she had never heard a creature speak before. The bird bowed slightly and said, "I am Leora, the messenger of the Moon Queen. I have watched your sorrow for many nights." Elara's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away quickly. "I cannot cry, for my tears only bring pain," she said softly. Leora fluttered her wings and replied, "Then perhaps it is time to find the truth behind your curse." The bird told her that only forgiveness could break the spell. Forgiveness for the one who cursed her, and forgiveness for those who had turned her tears into riches. For the first time, Elara felt a spark of hope. She decided she would leave the palace that very night. With a cloak over her shoulders and Leora guiding her path, she stepped into the moonlit forest, ready to face the destiny that awaited beyond the walls of gold. The forest beyond the palace was unlike any place Elara had ever seen. The trees glowed faintly under the moonlight, and silver mist curled around her feet as she walked. Every step echoed softly, as if the forest itself was whispering her name. Leora fluttered above her shoulder, guiding her through winding paths and ancient roots. "The road ahead will test your heart," the bird warned, "for only a heart pure enough to forgive can lift a curse born of sorrow." Their first trial came when they reached a river made of crystal water. The current shimmered like liquid glass, but a crying child sat on the bank, unable to cross. Without hesitation, Elara lifted the child and waded through, even as sharp stones cut her feet. The child vanished, leaving behind a silver feather, a sign of compassion. Farther ahead, she met a blind old woman searching for her way home. Elara took her hand and guided her through the dark woods, though it delayed her journey. When they reached the woman's cottage, it turned into a glowing tree, blessing Elara with strength and light. Each act of kindness lit her path brighter until she finally saw a dark mountain rising before her, the home of the witch who had cursed her long ago. Leora circled above her and whispered, "This is where your story began, and where it must end." Elara took a deep breath, ready to face the truth. The dark mountain rose high into the clouds, its peak hidden in storm and shadow. Elara climbed until her hands bled and her breath came heavy. When she reached the top, she found a small hut glowing faintly with blue fire. Inside sat the same old woman who had once cursed her, the witch with eyes like burning embers. "So the Diamond Princess has come at last," the witch said, her voice trembling between anger and sorrow. "Do you seek revenge?" Elara stood tall, though her heart raced. "No," she answered softly. "I seek freedom, not only for myself, but for you too. You cursed me because my father turned you away. I forgive you for the pain you caused." The witch stared in silence, her old eyes filling with tears. For the first time in years, compassion touched her heart. "Child," she whispered, "no curse can survive where forgiveness blooms." A bright light filled the mountain, and Elara felt warmth wash over her. Her final tear fell, not of sorrow but of peace, and it turned into a single diamond that shone brighter than the sun. The witch vanished with a faint smile, and the storm above the mountain began to clear, leaving the sky calm and golden once more. When Princess Elara returned to her kingdom, the people were astonished to see her smile again. The diamonds that once filled the palace no longer glowed with their former light, but no one cared. They saw something brighter, the joy in their princess's eyes. King Alden, moved by his daughter's forgiveness, fell to his knees and wept for all the pain his greed had caused. Elara held his hand and said softly, "Father, it is never too late to begin again." From that day onward, the kingdom was no longer built upon jewels but upon kindness. The fields flourished, laughter filled the air, and the once quiet palace became a place of warmth and love. Elara's curse had turned into a gift, teaching everyone that forgiveness holds a power far greater than magic. And though her tears no longer turned into diamonds, her laughter sparkled brighter than any treasure in the world. Moral: true beauty shines not from what we own, but from the kindness we share and the forgiveness we give. And that was the story of the cursed princess who turned her tears into diamonds. And if you enjoyed this magical tale, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and watch our next enchanting story filled with love, courage, and wonder.